Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about the Tahiti Impactor. And I'm going to show you right here. This is Tahiti. Now, at this distance, at this elevation, which is at 164 miles above the surface of the Earth, yes, I have difficulty saying the S sound. Or making the S sound. Well, anyway, that's because, my jaw didn't come out like it probably should have. Anyhow, we won't discuss how it came out that way. But this is Tahiti right here. So you notice there's kind of like this little circle right there, and then you go, that little thing coming out there at that side of Tahiti. Let's go ahead and orient this to north right here. Yeah, it's like totally going north. Cool. Well, now that definitely appears like it could have, at least at some point in time, I mean it's looking pretty clean right now, been a caldera, and this be a volcano, and that be basically probably the last time it had a large flow coming away from the island. But don't mistake it for being volcanic from the get-go, and Doodle's being terribly rude right now. Doodle, I'm speaking to people. Do you mind? Would you mind not piercing my ears? There, thank you. No, I don't want to go to bed. I just got up. I don't want to go to bed. Okay, sorry about that, distractors. Doodle, stop being a training distractor. Okay, so don't get wrapped around Tahiti being a volcano. So here's the thing, right? When you have something that comes from outer space, I would have to say it's pretty darn strong evidence to indicate that once it punctures the surface of the Earth, you could very easily wind up with a volcano in its aftermath. That just seems to make sense, right? You get poked in your skin, you bleed. Well, Earth isn't any different in that matter. It gets poked in the skin, it's going to bleed. And when it bleeds, it creates a scab. That scab just turned out to be an island. Okay? And yeah, so you're like, then you begin to look at the scabs on your arms when you get cut and you get poked, and you're like, I wonder if anybody's living on it. Oh, anyhow. Oh my God, what if they are? They could be bugs. Okay, so anyway, so don't lick your scabs and don't eat them. Whatever you do, don't eat your scabs. You don't see the Earth eating its scabs, do you? Okay, well then, why would you eat yours? Anyway, basically from this point here, I know I'm getting off of it. It's, Doodle, for Pete's sake. Anyway, you see these lines coming out of there. Those are what I thought at one point would have been from stress fractures. So say, for instance, believing what we've been theorizing mostly about the Hawaiian Islands especially, that they are like a hot spot. So as the Pacific plate is moving across the mantle of the Earth, you end up seeing, and from your point of view, the northwest would be over here. So basically, the theory is that the volcanic hotspot activity began over here and just kind of like traveled as this tectonic plate moves across the surface of the ocean, or the surface of the mantle. And Doodle, you're being horrible. Okay, so achoo, got it right. All right, so basically, from that, I decided that maybe these lines were, subterranean radial rift lines. So, say for instance, my fingers together create the surface of the Earth, and the Earth just happened to have a really bad day because it just had a whole bunch of refried beans, right? And then it just went boop, burped. And so, boop, there goes Hawaii, boop, there goes Tahiti. Okay, and then at the time that you're doing this, you notice how the space between my fingers expands, And each time they expand, they create these surls, subterranean radial rift lines. Psych. As it turns out, my video that was put out before this one, it turns out that they are actually whip shock veins, just like the Battalion 6, as I like to call it, down in Southeast, which I haven't covered by video yet. I will bring that to, I'll get to it eventually. Anyhow, that whip shock vein traveled, and I've covered this in a couple of videos, like that, and then just like severed a 16 kilometer wide. That's about how wide these whip shock veins are from one side to the other. They're about, this one here might be larger than that. I haven't measured it. But the one over in the Southeast Indian Ocean was 16 kilometers wide, and it traveled over 1 million meters in distance before it struck the very westmost point of the southern coast, or the southwest coast of Australia. But just before it gets there, it reaches a zone, a fracture zone, and it takes a mountain ridge along that fracture zone and basically severs it, lifts it, and shoves it north by north. Shoves it north by northwest, 8 kilometers distance, a 16 kilometer stretch of ridge for a distance up to 8 kilometers. Imagine what the fish thought when that happened. I don't think they would have been able to see what was going on. But just the amount of noise that would make in our world's atmosphere is like, wow, that would be a very scary event. You know, what's really amazing is that we don't really have a whole lot of impactors with this type of magnitude that have struck the Earth during our period of existence where we like to record things. In more understandable terms, being literature rather than painting on cave walls. So the point is here, there's no guarantee that we weren't intelligent at some point before and just almost completely got wiped out by one of these impactors. If we get struck by one of these impactors, the severity of its magnitude on its impact with the Earth could be so traumatic. It might cause global, what's that called? Extinction of not just people, a whole lot of other things, and send us right back into the dark ages. And then here we are trying to learn it all over again. I'm not convinced we're not already repeating this process. And I'm not convinced that we didn't have a higher technology at some point in time before we got wiped out or knocked so far back that we had to start all over again with scientific Adam and scientific Eve. And then you talk about missing links and things of that nature. Well, that's a darn good way to lose your links. It just got vaporized to an extent, right? So now, because of these impactors, I'm going to put out there that due to the fact that so many of these impactors that I'm identifying have blast rings that appear to not really be greatly altered over the course of time, and we know that some of them have blast rings that haven't been altered but have been there way longer than we have been in the recording existence that we are, and it's just like, that means that for so if we've been around for 4.4 million years, then it's been probably about 4.4 million years or longer that blast occurred, leaving the blast rings from that era that it occurred in. And that means that plate tectonics really, if they really are there, they're not moving a whole lot. And my theory about continental virga is far more explicable, if that's a good use of that word, than plates moving around like clouds. Because really, I mean, if that little square puzzle we play with, there's an empty plate. And the only reason you can move the other plates around is because there's an empty plate. Earth doesn't have any empty plates. So you can't really get that mobility because it's plugged. Okay? So imagine trying to play that puzzle with no missing plate. Okay, so that's whatever. Okay, so here we have it. It turns out not Indonesia, my bad. Tahiti here is like a central peak. So we're always talking about, or the scientists that I seem to, well, let's say for instance, the scientist I spoke to who was convinced that the only kind of crater you can get is with a central peak. Well, Tahiti's your central peak, so why haven't we identified it yet? Are we looking for mountain ridges? If we're looking for mountain ridges, well, Earth may not necessarily always give us mountain ridges. It does give us ridges, and when it does give us ridges, we're still ignoring them. So, if you can't see the ridge because it's a mountain, well, maybe you need to zoom out to about 10 miles above the surface of the Earth and look at it again. So, the Earth has ridges. It has those mountain ridges. But the thing is, with deflection taking place in our atmosphere, they don't always hit us direct. This one here, yeah, I can't find a B2W. And generally, if there's no B2W of any sort, low angle or high angle, you have a direct hit. That bugger came in, top dead center. Bam! Straight down. See, even Doodle gets it that way. She heard that, she said bam in her own words. All right, so you see how these lines are radiating out away from this impact site. Now, if you look at it from this elevation at 471 miles above the Earth, you start to see a mess going on right here. And, maybe there's something to be said about this mess as I'm speaking to you, because you got the tall end here, and then you have the spray going out here. The thing is, it isn't the kind of mess, you might say, that you would typically be looking for. And if it's a low angle impactor, it's kind of hard to say that it. You got this pimple right here, and you could say that you got this point. You've got a 1. Here's your thing coming down, going out that way, and then you go bloop bloop. So you have your bat wings, and that would probably give us a direction coming from here. But because it isn't quite as strong, I mean, I'm sitting here staring at it, in case you're wondering. I'm thinking out loud right now because I couldn't find one earlier. I couldn't find any B2W evidence, so I was like, well, it had to be a direct hit. But now that I'm talking to you and I'm looking at this elevation, sometimes the elevation I got to bring it in and up and down before I begin to see what it is I'm looking for. And it just so happens that despite the terrain features, we could have a low angle signature coming in on this rock. So if that's the case, it would have come in from this direction. The only reason I'm not exactly considering it low angle, for the most part, is because the radial lines encompass the entire island almost equally. So that tells me that the energy from it emitted evenly, or so evenly that you get spokes coming out of the hub of your boom. And you don't get that in Hawaii. Hawaii is most definitely a low angle impactor, because most of your radial whipshock veins are going whoop out toward the north so the impactor came in at 15 degrees this way, 15, because actually I'm holding my hand at about 30, 15 degrees, plowed into the earth, boop, makes that stuff go away in the same direction. All that spray went in the same direction as the impactor was traveling on its approach, and blasted out this way, and all that energy was pushed forward into the whipshock veins. That's what you're talking about when you look at Hawaii. Well, this one here, that energy was dispersed evenly, and so it's most likely a direct hit. But that doesn't indicate that it didn't have some kind of spray here. And it could just be that because of the spray, what appears to be spray going over this way toward, let's see, click that up, toward the north by northeast, deflection. So if it came in at almost a 90-degree angle, the deflection as it struck the ocean may have been just enough to offset it to spill the guts out toward this direction and leave this side high. But the energy itself was still central and radial by 360. All right? Some of these ridges down here may or may not have been affected by that impactor. I'm rather thinking possibly not, because they seem to go out and they're not going around the impactor like this. So if the impactor had the ability to create these waves, and chances are relatively strong that it would have, it would seem like it would have had a different effect. But maybe not, because if we look at the angle that it appears it could have come from, which would have been in something like this direction, then you have, like if you had, so yeah. Now they were probably there, or they came about by another means. This one came about from being an impactor. Period. Now you have a whipshock vein going on up there, but I haven't bothered trying to look into that one. That one doesn't have the spider trails coming out from the central point, right? So if I go over here to my Tahiti stuff, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of borders and labels, and come down here and go boop. There's your blast rings. This is my first blast ring right here, second blast ring, third blast ring, and this one way out here is my fourth blast ring. And you can see BR number 1 is 70.1 kilometer radius. BR number 2 is a 187 kilometer radius. BR number 3 is a 585.6 kilometer radius. BR number 4 is a 1.4 million meter radius. And then BR number 5, which isn't visible at this moment, because if I go like that, boop, you can't see it come or go, is 2.7 million meter radius. That's not how far these radial rift lines are going out. I have a couple of them out here. The 1.4 and 2.7 are pretty close together. So those are my two possibilities of the furthest range, but you can see how some of these whipshock veins go far, far beyond that point. So the effect of this impactor sent, the magnitude of its blast sent that energy straight down this whipshock vein all the way down. It looks like it went all the way down to Antarctica before it stopped. So it's coming down through here, and then it sort of dissipates right out in here, right? That's a hell of a whop. Imagine the sound that would have made in our atmosphere. That would almost seem like a sound we would hear around the world. It would have, if you have the magnitude from an explosion to crack and whip that energy and that shock all the way down to a completely different continent, almost one entire quarter distance of the entire surface of the planet. You're going to hear that. You're going to hear that sound. because all that sound is going to carry all the way down here. Because these guys, it wasn't silent when it got down here and pissed out on, fizzled out by Antarctica. That sound was carried all the way down through here. And if that sound was carried that far, then that's that way, then it was carried a quarter of the distance this way. And if it was carried a quarter of the distance this way, then I guarantee it was heard at least on one entire hemisphere. On the other side of the planet, maybe not. But sound travels, so probably, right? Because as this energy rips through the surface of the planet, it's carrying that sound. And so that sound gets moved all the way down here fresh. That means from this point, if it goes another quarter of the distance of the Earth, it wraps around this side until it hits 1/4 this way. And if it went 1/4 on the other side and goes, the sound continues for a quarter beyond that, it actually, literally covered the entire planet by sound. Everybody on the Earth heard this one crack. All right, that's the kind of power we're talking about right here. Now, if I go up here and I don't have my stuff going on there, so let me look. Now I'm going to go back to, let's see, I think it's in, not there, it's this one. What am I doing? I'm going to, I thought it was in there. Oh, it must be Gimmel's Meteor Impact Atlas. Where the heck did it go? I'm looking for 4. Well, I guess I'll click on it there. So where is it? Oh yeah, Office of Planetary Defense. Okay. So here we go. What'd I do? All right, so we're looking at, we want to look at something here. I think it's this guy here. I'll open up that. Sorry, I didn't have this open already. I should have known that I was going to want to. That's not even it. Dadgummit. My bad, folks. Let me see. I'm going to figure out where they're. Oh, the Kiribati lithostream tsunami. That, of course, why didn't I think of that? And I was like, so basically, my point is the Kiribati lithostream. Well, that's not the one showing us the lithostreams. Okay. I'm talking about it, but I'm not showing it. Was it in Hawaii? It must have been in Hawaii. Because I might have been thinking Hawaii was the one responsible for it first. I know. I suck. I'll figure out one of these dadgum things here. Where the heck is it here? What's the other one? See, this is why I don't like having to look through all my freaking files. I was like, what did I do with that thing? Well, it must be this one then. Who impacted first? No, that's the thumbnail. Was that the thumbnail? Yeah, that's the thumbnail. I just looked at it this morning. Where was it if I just looked at it? It must be in a different folder. It must be in Guacanayabo. I was looking in there. Nope. Is it? Nope. Maybe it is Guacanayabo. I know you guys just love. Oh, there it is. All right, so here we go ahead and take that out. Go copy. I'm gonna put that over here in this file here. Well, maybe I want to put it up here at the top. All right. Paste. Save. Okay. So now we can go ahead and close that one. There it is, folks. So I gave these guys names. These are the lithostream scores that I apparently deleted off of Google somehow. Anyway, here's the Kiribati stream. Now you notice down here, the Kiribati stream basically channels through here through the Caribbean Sea. And so right there, there's Hawaii. And let's see here. Tahiti's way the heck down here. So you have Hawaii above this the Caribbean Sea, and then you have Tahiti below. Now here's the thing, right? I mentioned before what happens in the southern hemisphere. It's kind of like Las Vegas. It stays in the southern hemisphere. The reason that is because what happens in the bottom of your mug pretty much stays at the bottom of your mug. But what if happens at the top of your mug tends to filter down to the bottom of your mug. So Earth is no different. So if it happens in the northern hemisphere, it mostly gets channeled down toward the South Pole, because the South Pole is, after all, our planet's base, because of galactic gravity, not because of the planet. The planet's gravity is equatorial, because of the equatorial vortices being cyclonic. But the planet's up and down is figured out based on the planet's situation as it rests in its galactic flight posture with the galactic gravity as it strikes the base of our planet with the SMEGAWs, or the supermassive electromagnetic gravity waves. So, the most likely impactor to have affected I'll go ahead and show you here, to have affected and created the Dominican Islands would have more likely been channeled out through Hawaii's impact, where the waves, the radial waves of energy, go up against the shore just like a tsunami, only this is coming from like the asthenosphere, or say for instance the lithosphere. Who knows exactly which sphere it is, but it's underneath the crust. And it travels here, and then it gets pushed down here because of the anti-peaks of the continents floating above the mantle. That energy is pushed down and channeled. So it gets channeled, and it goes down to a weak point between two continents as it does, and then it moves up into here. Like the same thing we get, as I've mentioned it before, when you have the torrent of an oceanic tsunami. It travels across the globe, and then as it reaches the shoreline, it's channeled into terrain that puts it up and into river deltas, pressing all that river flow back into the continental masses of those river flows. That's the exact same thing we're getting here, ladies and gentlemen. That's what created these islands. All right, so I was thinking that Tahiti probably was more likely the culprit behind creating those guys, but after all, actually, I don't think so anymore. Tahiti, on the other hand, might have had some other kind of impact on the planet, but it's not something that I can actually put my finger on right now. All this mess over here, created by the Southeast China Impactor, happened after Tahiti impacted the Earth. So there it is. I don't really have I don't have a poo, because the poo is straight off the planet. So if I take the Earth and put it this way, and I draw a line right through the center of the planet, almost like it was a polar axis or something, and drew that line straight out of the planet right there, well, you come out far enough, that's as far as we can go. You come out far enough, right, it just goes pew, straight out that way, and you're like, well, what's out there? I don't know. I have to go down there and park my boat and look up in the sky and say, hey, what's going on? Who's up there? That doesn't always come out to be where it was. You have to keep in mind where the planet was in its galactic coordinate at the time of the impactor striking the Earth. You can't just look out there today and say, oh, there it is, that's where it was, and that's where it came from. No, it doesn't work like that. You go back in time, things change over the course of time. We should know that by now. We're sitting here looking at different types of different structures on our planet, megalithic structures like, you know, Stonehenge and things of that nature, and we're talking about how they are slightly off from stellar features today, whereas at the time that they would have been built or constructed, they would have been in line with certain stellar objects at that time because of the Earth's galactic coordinate. All right, and its galactic elevation. All right, which is part of the coordinate. If you get yourself, you know, a bunch of, you do it a 3D cubity-doo thing. All right, let's see. Now I keep going back in and back out. You see, it's like, hey, Death Star. You know, there's a whole lot of Death Star little indicators around here. Boy, that's just a massive boot. It almost looks like this is one too. That's not the case. So basically, your linear sheaf coming off of the Hawaiian Island impactor actually kind of ends around in here someplace. It doesn't go up here and then go whoop. They don't fly like that. Pretty sure they don't. So this up here is just that it just kind of like feeds into that visible impression, right? So just because Tahiti may or may not have been volcanic or is not, you know, still volcanic, doesn't mean that it's only a volcano and only ever been a volcano. It's a volcano because it got punctured and became a central peak and all, and then the earth bled lava. We bleed blood and the earth bleeds lava. All right, now I'm going to go over here to the most boring side of my diggity-doo. And we basically have all of our lines here and coming up with my popping stuff. HR popping stuff. Nope, alright. Yeah, gee, I might be showing my age, huh? Alright. Actually, the television show was called HR Puffin' Stuff. I used to watch it all the time, too. I don't know why. The new Zoo review was corny, but I watched it, too. On top of Sesame Street. Well, let's see here. What am I going to look at? Okay, here we go. French Polynesia. That's just the line to the radius. It has absolutely no indication of poo. And basically, at the end of it all, ladies and gentlemen, this impactor was a direct hit with a diameter of 4.9 kilometers. The island of Tahiti is a central peak. Bam. That's the end of it. Tahiti's not all that fantastic. I mean, in terms of the radial whip shock veins going out as far as they do, that's fantastic. I wouldn't want to be on Earth when it hit. And when you keep coming up with rocks of 4.9 kilometers, I mean, these rocks are not small. In fact, out of curiosity, we have an astronaut that is very concerned with, I don't know his name, very concerned with a particular impactor, and that impactor is called Apophis. There, I spelled it, well, you know, helps with Google Earth, helping you fill it out, right? Alright, so let's find out how big Apophis is. Maybe I have something. Alright, because initial observations indicated a probability of up to 2.7% that it would hit Earth on April 13, 2029. What year is this? Oh, we have a few years to go yet. Alright. It's a near-Earth asteroid with a diameter of 370 meters. Well, that's not too scary then. Alright. So apparently somebody at work was telling me that here just like 2 weeks ago or something like that, the news reported an asteroid flying over past the Earth that was the size of a mountain. So even if the next day, I think it was, that same person came to work and said, "Oh, that was a bunch of crap. There wasn't any asteroid, but there was one that flew around the Earth here this week." It's like, well, that wasn't the next day. Then it was the next week. So the thing is, when we're looking at impactors and their sizes, and we look at the impactor size that we had up here with this guy that created this mess being 56.6 kilometers in diameter, you know, if it's a flying Mount Rainier, it's only 27.2 or about that kilometers in diameter. That's slightly larger than the base of Mount Rainier's circular formation. So, and Mount Rainier is a cone, so the mass isn't there. You're taking Mount Rainier's base and assuming that it is a sphere. I mean, for all we know, these rocks that hit the planet weren't even spherical. They might have been funny shaped like cigars or something, and then going through the sky like a flying Volkswagen, head over tail. Good thing about a head over tail impactor is it's probably not going to have quite the magnitude that a spinning or an impactor that could be elongated. But if it's rotating and it's going through the sky like a bullet, it could probably have a much greater force on impact and result in a much higher magnitude of burst. Just an idea, not for sure. I'd have to go out there and play with the meteors and asteroids to figure out which one does the most damage. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. All right, so we're going to go back to Earth. Oh wait, how was that Earth? Okay, so basically it was 370 meters. Wow, 370 meters. What do I have that could compare to 370 meters? You know, right now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have anything as small as 370 meters. Basically, what I'm doing is, here's my goal. Here's my first visible goal right here, pretty much, for the most part. I have my set view of the Earth. The reason I picked this as my set view and saved it as my set view is because I don't have the planet going down here underneath the giggity-goo garbage down here for Google stuff. Okay, so it puts me at 10,381.67 miles above the Earth's surface. So when I'm going around the planet from this elevation looking at stuff, I'm looking for impactors. That's how I found that one. Actually, what you see at this elevation from Hawaii are the radial whip shock veins, mostly up here, but some are down here too, possibly. In fact, this even looks like that. Something might have happened down in here, maybe. I haven't really paid much attention to it because you have like a bump right there and what appears to be a whip shock vein coming down this way. And these, of course, these are our lithostream scores from the most recent world-class impactors, such as this one that left us the largest crater on the planet that apparently no one can see. So you come down to these guys. What was I saying? I lost my train. Oh, the elevation. That's all I'm doing. So if you're going to be I'm not going to see an impactor created. I'm probably not going to see an impactor created by a 370 kilometer diameter impactor. But Little Tooley Wooley is see that little point right there, and then the ricochet furrow that goes up this way. So that's pretty small. That's actually, I mean, if you look at it and then you start looking at Little Tooley Wooley's blast ring radius that pretty much extends out to there and probably has something to do with creating the life situation that we have up in here. The good thing, but this is also right along lines of all of this material coming down here and flowing around Australia. So it could be not only is the great coral, the great barrier reef on the outskirts of the furthest blast ring from Little Tooley Wooley. It's also right on the edge of all of this overflow stuff that went crazy down here, creating Fiji Island and New Zealand from this guy right here. So basically, as this void was opened and then it refilled itself, probably the velocity of how quickly it refilled splashed over, overflowed down into here, because this is the base of our planet. This is down, so it's running down the planet just like rain. In this case, because the planet's flight posture is about like this, it's running toward the back like rain, running from hitting your windshield like this and going whoosh. It doesn't hit the windshield and go down toward the core of the earth. It hits the windshield and goes whoosh, back over the top of the car, right? So you got this going back over the top of the planet, so to speak, depending on where the planet was at the time. So that could have been created by that. But anyhow, that's just a tiny little guy, right? And really it was, for me, what brought my attention to Little Tooley Wooley wasn't that point. In fact, I couldn't even see that part. I could, you can see it now, but it wasn't what I didn't look from at it like immediately, hey, that's an impact crater. Nope, I looked at the shape of the continent and I put a circle there. And then I just like Google Earth does, it puts that line from the center of your circle out to your perimeter, and it gives you the radius. Well, that line, right at the tip of that line, I put a little one of these little pins. And when I put it there, that's where it took me. It took me right here to Little Tooley Wooley, and bam, there's your crater. Whoa, check it out. So when I told the scientist that I was speaking to that all you have to do is look for circles and then you can find, well, short of kicking me out of, well, I was talking to him on the telephone, and short of just basically throwing me out of his office on the telephone, he apparently was appalled that I had mentioned that it was a circle first. I mean, I look for circles. That's how I find most of these big monsters, right? So there you go, right? Now, if I want to, if I go back here, let's go back to that right quick. Since we got 370 meters on the mind, how big was the Little Tooley Wooley impactor? So we're going to go back to Gimmel's Meteor Impact. I call it, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I call it the Meteor Impact Atlas because, for those folks that don't pay a lot of attention to, technical terms, they're probably more apt to, clasp onto meteor versus asteroid. Either way, right? Regardless, it's a rock from outer space, as I've said. So we're going to go here to Little Tooley Wooley as number 2. Boop, boop. All right, let me see my diggity-doos. All right, and change 2 is what I want. All right, that's probably one of these ladder diggity-doos. See, it's in this one that I start showing you how I get the obliquity of the solar system in relation to the galaxy. However, that math is slightly off from what I know to be true. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but because this particular slide presentation goes into that, I'm going to explain it. So I'm going to go back to, where is it here? Right. Solar system mechanics, galactic plane and ecliptic. So my galactic plane is actually measured off of a photograph taken by a very excellent photographer, David Morrow. Oops, I'm looking at the ecliptic. That's the wrong red line. I was like, when is this line going to end? All right, so Sunrise Point, right? So this is the accurate reading. North Pole's up here. Now, according to all this stuff, all that good stuff right there, that basically, all the math pretty much brings me to the North Pole being 1.5 degree above the galactic plane. Well, as you can see right here, if you draw this line this way, the center of these two tropics, as I like to call them, the galactic tropics, the center of those two right here is to here, to the North Pole, quite a bit greater than 1.5 degree. This is the true flight posture. So, at least for the date that this photograph was taken. And I mean, when the planet sits there and rotates, oops, wrong way, rotates like this around the North Pole, then you're pretty much going to have, should pretty much have the same thing, with the exception of the Earth's precession. We're not taking into consideration the Earth's precession there, right? So we're going to go back to Australia. And we're going to go ahead and take off that stuff. Sorry it took me so long to figure out what I was doing right there. Now we're going to go back over here, and then we're going to go down to here where it tells me what the size of my impactor was. Is it this one? All right. All right. All right, I'm looking at it. That was the trajectory. All right. Well, what I later referred to, because I was calling the degrees from zero the trajectory, and then I was calling the elevation from the ground up trajectory. Well, you don't want to use trajectory for both of them, because then people become confused as to which one you're speaking about. So I decided to leave the trajectory relative to the angle measured from zero, and then call the angle measured from the surface of the Earth the vertical angle, which is what it is actually called when you stand on the Earth and you look straight out over the surface of the Earth like this, and then you look up. You're looking up a given vertical angle from your elevation. So we're going to go back up. Here we are. And yeah, I wasn't really all that clear. So basically I'm looking at this here, and I've got a 13.1. So it's kind of looking to me like oh, it's 13.1%. All right, so 13.1% gives me all this stuff. Where in the heck is my darn math for the 14.5? No, that's not it. Huh. You know what, folks? I'm beginning to think I never did come up with the size for the rock that struck Little Tooley Wooley. B2W. What I got there. Google Earth controls autos, blah, 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 blah. Well, I did. I went through here, I figured out the difference in dimensions, and I never did come up with, apparently, did not come up with the size of the impactor, which would have been, so basically all we got to do is look for blast ring number 1. So we have our oval, that's not the blast ring, so the oval to the blast ring number 1 is right there. So blast ring number 1 is 159.04, right? So we're going to take this guy, we're going to go copy, we're going to run him down through here, we're going to go put it down here, we're going to go paste. My bad, folks. I'm going to find out, I'm going to tell you what the size of Little Tooley Wooley was. Apparently I never did that. I was like, I need to get this stuff figured out. I kind of come up with a system here, where I just give you the straight ups and leave it at that instead of babbling on for hours on end. I know I'm old. I don't have to be perfect about my presentations because nobody listens to me anyway. So it's like, who cares? I'm just speaking to cyberspace. All right, so here we are. They don't care unless I do something illegal, then suddenly everybody's going to want to stomp on my rear end, right? Now, so we're looking at this guy here, and we got that guy there. Oh, I want to save my file as a new change, because apparently I never did this stuff before. What? Oh, wait, save as. Little Tooley Wooley. This now becomes change 3 because I'm changing what I've already even spoke. Apparently I didn't even put this out in the, whoops, not change 32. All right, change 3. And, well, I did this this month. Well, I did change 2 this month. I didn't do Little Tooley Wooley this month, that's for sure. That's an old folder or file. So we're going to go 14 June it is and save it. Alright, now we're going to go to the calculator, or what I like to call the kickulator. I know, I get up early in the morning because I have to go to work early in the morning. I'm down here trying to entertain myself. It's taking too long to drink my coffee, it's getting cold. At least it ain't yester coffee. I drink that too. 4.9. What's 4.9? Well, that's something else, folks. Let me get rid of that. All right, and then clear the Mamadigiri up here. Okay, so now we're going to go. It's going to be it's 0.07 multiplied by 150. I think that's a 5. Is that a 5 or is that a 9? Hold on a second. I got to get my glasses on. Can't read that thing. I still can't read it. Looks like it might be a 5. Let's just say it's a 5. So we're going to be 159,040.58. Don't bug me, Booms. I'm busy. What? Where's your ball? Where's Boomy's ball? Huh? You gonna go get Boomy's ball? Go get Boomy's ball. Go find Boomy's ball. Oh, there's Boomy's ball. Quit getting jealous, Doodle. Jeez. All right. There it is, folks. All right. So the impactor, let me go ahead and put, oh, wait. We want to go print screen. I'm going to go down here and save it again. New slide. Paste. So Little Tooley Wooley's impactor is, we're going to keep it, make sure it's, okay, it stays black, and they're going to make it, well, we can't do that yet anyway. So it's going to be, all right, this impactor was 11.1 kilometers in diameter. All right, now I'm going to make that white. I'm going to put it right there. All right, and save the file. All right, so 11.1 kilometers. That's quite a bit larger than 370. So even my smallest impactor that I have, that I'm looking at right now, is huge compared to Apophis. So I don't have any comparisons to what Apophis could potentially, what kind of damage Apophis could potentially cause. Because Meteor Crater actually is the smallest one, but I'm not the one to come up with the size of the impactor on that. In fact, it's the size that the scientists have said Meteor Crater's impactor was that I base my establishments and estimates for the larger impactors on. So it's so at say for an instance, if they said 30 to 50 kilometers in diameter, no, excuse me, my bad, 30 to 50 meters in diameter, then we're going to go with 40 right in the middle, right? So, and make it happy there. So that's 40. So I guess in a sense you could sort of imagine that if you have, well, let's look at it for a second here. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of all that news. And we're going to be like, oh, what was it? That's 300, making sure, 370. Just making sure I was right. So 370 divided by 40 equals 9.25. So now we're going to go 9.25. Oh, that's stupid. 9.25. Oh, that's what I want to do. So let me think. What is so Little Tooley Wooley? Actually, I think I have that one open. Here's Little Tooley Wooley. We went up here. Pretty sure it's in Little Tooley Wooley's stuff that I have Meteor Crater. Right? No? Damn it. No. What the heck happened to Meteor Crater? I thought I went to Meteor Crater to figure it out right there for this one. Doggone it. One of these guys has Meteor Crater in it. Huh. Well, maybe it was in the South China Sea one. Alright. Okay, well, we're going to open up South China Sea, change 1. And maybe it was in South China Sea that I have at least one of the slides. And no, I don't. Scrooge. Dad burned it. South China Sea Impactor. Maybe I did it in this one and I took it out. One of these guys has a clip from, excuse me, my nose is sinuses are starting to bug me because I'm old. It happens. Nope, not that one. Here we go again. Trying to figure out where I put stuff. Alright, it's not in there at all. So where would it be? Well, in the Story of Earth, maybe? I don't know. Story of Earth. There's a lot of stuff in the Story of Earth. It's mostly videos. The Story of Earth. UW. Yeah. Oh, right. Oh, that's what I sent to the. Yeah, you're right. UW. Never mind. I'm not bringing that one open. Or am I? Not it. Okay, folks. Can't find it. Anyhow. It's like 500. I just can't believe I don't know where I put that. It had to be it's got to be in the Story of Earth. Maybe if I change these down to details only. No, there's so many diggity doos in here. I'm looking for PowerPoints. Meteor. Booms. Planetary evolution. Alright, Indonesian impactor. This is Siberian atmospheric tsunami. Earth thumbnail. Is that it? Darn. The T-zone. No. Shh. Quiet, Booms. Wow, I can't believe I don't know where I put that stuff. Wait a minute. It must be in documents? Maybe it's in documents. Right. I know. You guys were like, oh, this guy's boring. Oh, God. All right. Okay, I give up. Maybe someday I can show it to you. It's like 500. I mean, if you have 1,000 feet, a 1,000 foot diameter around that meteor crater, then it comes to about 500 something meters. So basically you're going to go, you're going to take 9.25 and multiply it by, well, we'll just say not multiply it by 500. It doesn't have to be exact. Oops, not 5.5. Where's that back by 500 equals 4.6 kilometer. So it's still 4.6 kilometer. Wait. Oh. Oh, right. So, Apophis, sorry, I had to get my train of thought back here. Apophis could have the potential of creating a blast ring number 1, if not a crater, because if it penetrates the Earth before it bursts, becoming a depth burst, it's not going to make a crater like meteor crater. It's just going to burst on the surface of the Earth and leave an impact crater. Doodle, you're killing my ears. Anyway, it'll be like a 4.6 kilometer radius on blast ring number 1, to give you an idea. 4.6 kilometer radius. So if we go to Earth, and we go down here, let's go down here to Little Tooley Wooley. Alright? And we see what kind of busy-do we got going on down there. And then we're going to go up here to our little measuring tool. We're going to come up with a circle, and we're going to take this here. How long did I 4.6, so 4,600, well. Ooh. Yeah, that's really small. I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit more. Alright, 4,600. Alright, there's 46. So, we come out and we zoom back out on that guy. That's how big the crater would be. That's how large that blast ring number 1 would be next to this guy and his blast ring number 1, right? So we go here and we look at his blast ring number 1, and we're looking at it way the heck out here, yo. So if we go to Google Earth and we tell this to come up with, we're going to do the impact radii, we're going to have low angle, continental penetrators, low angle, Little Tooley Wooley, and this is, one of these is, nope. Uh-oh. What did I do with blast ring number 1, yo? Is it under Australia? Okay, here we go. Little Tooley Wooley. Alright. Little Tooley Wooley B2W wingspan. Little Tooley Wooley poo. BR number 1. Boop. Nope, wrong one. Boop. There it is. So there's blast ring number 1 for Little Tooley Wooley. And there's blast ring number 1 for Apophis. If it was to like park itself right next to Little Tooley Wooley, its big brother. There you go. That ought to give you an idea of the devastation. That would be enough to wake a few people up in the morning, but certainly not enough to shake the crap out of our planet. Alright, that gives you an idea, right? So we looked at the potential impact that, ouch, Doodle, that the Apophis could have on the planet if it strikes the planet, right? All right, so it's really, I mean, you don't want it to hit New York City or any other city for that matter, because that would be large enough to just pretty much wipe out the city. But the thing is, it's big. It's not big enough to certainly be compared to Tahiti. All right, I'm done. I gotta get out of here before Doodle drives me nuts. All right, Doodle, I'm gonna get you some water. Hang on. She's very demanding. Very demanding. Yes. All right, we're gonna go down here, and that's the end of that one. Sorry I bored you to tears, but hopefully the info is good, right?